Trump's Christmas Carol, God Help Us Everyone by Wyatt T. Dickens. That we're going to be reading part 2, the first of the 3 spirits. Oh yeah, this is going to be good. Trump was woken by the blaring of a horn and opened his eyes to find the room flooded with light. At the center of this incandescence stood the music's originator, a gray-suited, white-haired man grooving away on the saxophone. Squinting even harder than usual, Trump was able to make out the apparition, who put his instrument to one side, did a thumbs up, then bit his lower lip. Bill Clinton? Trump spluttered. Well, hey there, the spirit replied in Arkansas drawl. Sorry to intrude. This isn't my first time surprising someone in the middle of the night, though it's usually not a dude, if you catch my drift. What the hell are you doing here, said Trump. I thought Nixon told you I'm the first of 3 spirits, the ghost of Christmas past. But Bill, you aren't dead. Aren't ghosts supposed to be dead? Sure, the spirit replied, and presidents aren't supposed to get BJs in the Oval Office, but I make my own rules. The ghost regarded the room with a look of fond remembrance. Man, if these walls could talk, that would be a real problem for me. Anyway, how are you finding the place? Said Trump. If I'm honest, not fantastic. This building's horrible. No class. I keep saying, why settle for a White House? Can't we make it a gold house? You'd think they'd at least let me install a jacuzzi in the Rose Garden, but no. Then all the losers and haters saying I'm a bad president when I'm clearly the best one there ever has been. And don't get me started with the fake news media making me look like an idiot by reporting what I say. Unfair bigly. 'Cause the thing is, I don't need this crappy job. I mean, come on. I'm Ebenezer Trump, the ultimate American success story. These guys should be grateful I agreed to be their king, or whatever. The spirit shook his head, and his aura took on a darker hue. God damn, you are one needy son of a bitch, aren't you? Do you ever wonder how you ended up like this? What's there to wonder about, said Trump. I'm a self-made man. I started with nothing but the shirt on my back and a small multi-million-dollar loan from my father. Self-made, huh? Said the spirit. Well, I'm here to unmake you. You and I are going on a little road trip. Here the spirit's smile turned from sheepish to wolfish, and Trump felt himself grow nervous. Don't wanna, he murmured in a voice much smaller than usual. Just then, the room's high window shot open as though of their own accord. The spirit produced a blue dress, curiously stained, which he began to whirl around his head like a helicopter blade. He seized Trump's hand, and in an instant, the pair flew out the window into the blizzarding sky. In a heartbeat, the myriad lights of D.C. were spread beneath them. There was the Washington Monument, the Smithsonian, the Lincoln Memorial. There was the Capitol Building, and that sacred temple of democracy, bedecked with the purest snow. Oops, let's do this. Hell of a view, isn't it? Exclaimed the spirit. By way of reply, Trump vomited, and down went his evening repast of steak, ice cream, and KFC. Regrettably, this happened just as they flew over the Arlington National Cemetery. Fortunately, he did not have to endure the trip very long, for within seconds the buildings below had been replaced with the skyscrapers of New York City. As they came to land upon a bustling street, Trump was shocked to observe that this was now daytime and his surroundings were eerily familiar. We're in Queens, he mused, but something's different. In a milkshake parlor opposite, a group of young people were doing the jitterbug to Elvis Presley's Hound Dog. 2 pregnant ladies strolled by, smoking cigarettes and discussing their husbands, who hadn't been the same since returning from Korea. The spirit nudged Trump and indicated an old-timey paperboy in flat cap and shorts. Extra, extra, he cried. Dwight Eisenhower, man of 1956, which is the year it is. After a long pause while he puzzled over the scene in front of him, Trump eventually turned to the spirit. What the hell? Why have you brought me back to the 50s? Well, you've brought the country back to the 50s, replied the ghost. Besides, this isn't any old day. It's Christmas Day, 1956. Remember it? I don't like to remember things, said Trump. It makes my brain go icky and my stomach feel weird. Plus, if I remember stuff, I'd have to, keep promises I make. No, thank you. Oh, but surely you recall the scene, the ghost insisted, and with a sweep of his arm, indicated a father and son traversing the sidewalk. The parent strode along in a greatcoat and a trilby, one vast mustached scowl, the fair-haired child scrambling after him, 10 years of age and clutching a lollipop in his tiny hand. Shake a leg, Ebenezer, cried the father. I have business to attend to, and you're moving as slow as a goddamn Spaniard. Trump turned to the spirit, his tangerine face lit up with excitement. Oh, boy, he exclaimed, that's my dad! 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 They can't see us, admonished the ghost. These are but the shadows of what was. Shame, said Trump. Would have been great to talk to him. Dad was the best guy, my hero, incredible businessman, truly. Ah, yes, said the spirit. Let's observe the businessman in action. The ghost took Trump's arm, his grip gentle but inexorable, and together they floated to the 5th floor of the tenement building, whose walls they passed through as if they were air. Now the two stood in the dark corridor, with the lights flickering and a carpet alive with insects. Before them were the father and son, the former hammering his fist against the door of apartment 21B. Keep your wits about you, boy, said Trump Sr. These folk are Irish, and everybody knows the hibernating skull shape predisposes one to violence. Sure thing, Pops, replied Trump Jr. with a look of wed adoration. The door was answered by a skinny fellow with kind, imploring eyes. Mr. Trump, gasped the man, it's a pleasure to see you. We both know that's bunked, replied his grim visitor. I certainly want to be pleased to see the man I owed $5 in unpaid rent. Your daddy was a slumlord, the spirit inquired of Ebenezer. Sure, Trump responded, but these were Trump slums, the classiest, most luxurious slums around. Forgive me, sir, said the trembling tenant, but work has been scarce since the pickle factory exploded. Perhaps you might show my family some lenience given the holy season. Lenience? Trump's father cried. Simply because it happens to be the 25th day of December? Humbug. The tenant gulped and stiffened his resolve. With all due respect, sir, the fault is not entirely ours. It might be hard to make ends meet when you're constantly falling through rotten floorboards and being woke up at 4 a.m. by rat fights. Perhaps you could see your way to bring in this building up to code? At this, Trump Sr. grabbed the poor fellow's lapels and pinned him against the doorframe. The day I do that, he hissed, is the day I rent one of these apartments to a Negro. You give me that money and you'll give it to me now. But sir, he pleaded, I hope to provide my family with a small meal to mark the occasion. Oh man, this is so bad, this book. At this, the landlord's face grew so red, it looked for all the world as though his mustache had been relocated to the bowl of bolognese. God damn it, he yelled, I'll see you kicked out on the street, or my name isn't Frederick Christ Trump, which it is. Genuinely, my middle name is Christ. Look it up. Young Ebenezer licked his lollipop expressionless as the tenant handed over his tattered banknotes. These Trumps pocketed with a smile of dark satisfaction. Pleasure doing business with you. He spun on his heel and strode on, with little Ebenezer scurrying to keep up. The spirit turned to Trump. That must have been tough for a kid, he said in a gentle voice. How did it make you feel? Feel? Trump replied. It made me feel great, honored to watch a master at his work. The spirit grasped Trump's sleeve, and they floated up through several ceilings before arriving at another corridor, just as repugnant as his downstairs cousin. Once again, Frederick and Ebenezer stood beside a dilapidated threshold. The boy licked his lollipop as his father explained that these next tenants were a family of Mexican, 12 weeks behind on their rent. Horrible, said young Ebenezer, though his heart wasn't in it. Bad hombre is not good. Because they refuse to pay, continued his father, that means they have to be evicted. I want you to do so and get a feel for the business. Young Ebenezer froze mid-lick, then lowered his head. Daddy, I don't think I... But Frederick was already rapping his knuckles against the door. A moment later opened to reveal a young Latina cradling her infant tenderly. Good morning, boomed the elder Trump. I'm your landlord, and your son here, and my son here has something he'd like to say to you. Take it away, boy. Said the child, lolly-hanging. What is it, Carino? The mother said with a smile. You can tell me. You heard that, kid? She wants to know. Well, thing is, you see... The words kept falling his boyish tongue. Once again, the woman gave an encouraging smile. Is something the matter, mijo? Out with it, damn you, said Frederick Christ Trump. Ebenezer glanced at the woman to his father, then his father to the woman, and all of a sudden a single tear darted down his cheek. Horror spread across the father's features. My God, are you crying? No, the boy lied. Frederick put his face so close to the young Ebenezer that the child could feel the very bristles of his mustache. I brought you out here so you could prove yourself a man. Instead, you start crying like some kind of Argentinian. You don't deserve the name Trump. You're nothing but a loser, a pussy. Sad. As the puce-faced tyrant continued to scream, Trump, our Trump, rounded on the spirit. Okay, that's enough. So my dad was rough once or twice. That made me the man I am today. I'm bored of this. I want to go someplace else. Very well, replied the spirit. And there's Trump's father with the little boy. Aw. The walls around them seemed to dissolve and reform in an instant, and Trump found himself in a large, trendy nightclub, thronged with revelers. Nearby, two women with enormous afros and flared jeans danced to Donna Summer while discussing their boyfriends who hadn't been the same since they got home from Vietnam. Trump spotted a familiar figure standing in the corner of the room. It was the paperboy, now in his mid-30s, but still wearing that flat cap and shorts. Extra, Star Wars becomes the highest grossing film of the year, which is 1977. Now that's more like it, Trump exclaimed. You know this place, said the spirit. Know it? Damn right I know it. This is Fezwigs. I used to come here all the time when I was young real estate mogul. The pair turned to face the dance floor, over which hung a vast neon sign. Its pink flashing letters confirmed that this was indeed Fezziwigs. Unbelievable, cried Trump, his voice filled with delight. This must be the big Christmas shindig. Indeed it is, replied the spirit. I guess that's why everybody's surface is covered with snakes, though. That isn't snow, said Trump. Believe me. Trump wandered across the dance floor as John Travolta roller skating by the strains of Jungle Booty hand in hand with Jimmy Carter. Everything's just how I remember, he marveled. Man, I love the 70s. The music, the outfits, the glitter balls. Plus, you could say all kinds of stuff to women because sexism hasn't even been invented yet. The spirit took advantage of his invisibility to glance down at the female reveler's dress, once again biting his lower lip. God damn, if I wasn't a married ghost. He turned back to Trump with a look of envy. This place is wild, said the spirit. You must have got a lot of action with a lot of groovy chicks. Well, no, actually, because back then I was with... Here, Trump faltered. I don't want to talk about it, he snapped. Suit yourself, the spirit. Why don't we grab a chair? Suddenly, Trump froze. You might have said his face drained of all color were it not for the permanent coat of mahogany. Wait a minute, he groaned. Christmas Eve, 1977, that's when... Trump wheeled around and attempted to strike the spirit, but the little fist could make no contact. I know why you brought me here, he yelped. The spirit did not answer, but rather clasped Trump's shoulders with an iron grip and marched him towards a private booth in which sat a young couple eating crab linguine. The man was Trump. That was clear enough, and yet how different he looked in his prime, free of that hulking paunch and that bulked-up neck flesh, and with that bombe bouffant that was all his own. You might have almost said he was handsome. However, the greatest change was Trump's expression. Gone were the unfocused glare and duck-like pout, and in its place stood something halfway human. But oh, how piteous was his lovely companion. She wore a cocktail dress of funeral black, and the tears that filled her eyes caused them to sparkle like glitter balls. Belle, said Trump, though the name caught in his throat. Oh, baby, said Ghost. Slick Willie likes what he sees. Hey, cried Trump, that's my fiancé. Not for long, the spirit replied and gestured to the two lovers. But I don't understand, young Trump was pleading. Everything's been great with us. I take you to classiest restaurants. We have the most luxurious vacations. I got you a superb engagement ring of the finest platinum. Nobody's seen a diamond like that before, believe me. Why would you want to break things off? Belle removed the ring, he mentioned, and placed it on the table before him. "For the reason you have just now illustrated," she said. "Ebenezer, your world has become one monstrous spreadsheet." "Oh, I get it," the young Trump muttered. "Having money is great, but when a guy goes after it, that makes him greedy. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. Life is made up of winners and losers, and you call greed is nothing but a refusal to be the latter." "You sell the world short," she answered gently. "You've come to care only for the outward splendor and the pantomime of success. You are losing your heart piece by piece, and soon you will have hollowed yourself out entirely. Then I shall be just another accessory to you, no more valued than a sports card or Brioni suit, and as readily replaced." "That's not true," said Trump, without much conviction, for he was not yet the liar he would become. "How can you be so cruel?" "Far crueler to have you deny your nature," cried Belle. "You are who you are, Ebenezer, and I release you." "But I don't want to be released," Trump exclaimed. "Why are you doing this to me? It's totally unfair. Horrible." Belle's features were full of sorrow, but her voice maintained its hard-won steadiness. "I do not say these words in anger, but with profound sadness for the love that was once between us. It is for that love's sake that I wish you the best of fortunes. May you fill the world with hotels and casinos and luxury resorts. May you raise your skyscrapers to the very heavens. May you enjoy every accolade and trapping of celebrity that your soul requires. Truly, dear Ebenezer, I hope you are happy in the life you have chosen." With that, she departed. The young Trump put his head in his hands, and his entire frame was racked with sobs. "Why the hell are you showing me this crap?" Trump cried. "I want to go home this instant." "Keep watching," said the spirit. The young Trump continued to weep in his linguini. Eventually, a waiter approached. "Are you all right, sir?" Young Trump looked up, his features congealed in a scowl. "Am I all right? I'm sitting here in a $1,000 suit, and you ask me if I'm all right? How dare you suggest I could be anything other than amazing? You know what? I'm going to talk to your manager and have you fired." "Pardon? You heard me. You're fired." Trump and the spirits surveyed this unhappy scene. After some time he passed, the former spoke in a soft, low voice. "That was the moment I decided to spend my life grabbing pussy and marrying Eastern European immigrants several decades my junior. Sure, enough. His young self had wandered across the bar, where he ogled a go-go dancer with lightning cigars with $100 notes. For the first time, perhaps ever, Trump looked circumspect. "Look, Spirit, I've had enough, all right? Take me back to bed and my 80-inch plasma screen." "One shadow more," said the ghost. "Unbelievable," cried Trump. "This whole thing is rigged." Suddenly, the walls of the nightclub began to crumble. The green saplings forced themselves through the dance floor. Within moments, these have grown into towering elms, which shed their leaves and were covered with snow and cool winter light. Trump blinked, listening to the muffled sound of nearby traffic. "Hey, I know where we are," he said. "We're in Central Park, just next to Fifth Avenue. But what year is this?" At this point, a cyclist sped fast. Strapped to his back was a speaker from which issued the words, "Don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? Don't you wish your girlfriend was a freak like me?" A man in a tie-dye crop top walked by talking on a Motorola about his boyfriend, who he hadn't been the same since coming home from Iraq. Exiting the park, Trump once again spotted the paperboy, sat outside a branch of Starbucks. Now old and gray, he shared his table with a sharp-suited businessman who was sipping an iced latte. "I can't believe it," said the paperboy. "You're firing me on Christmas Eve after everything I've done for this company?" "I'm sorry, Frank," said the business. "There's just no call for paperboys in 2005, which is the year it is." "Oh, wow," said Trump to the spirit eventually. "It's 2005? Finally, a happy memory. I was on top of the world then. The Apprentice was killing everybody with the rating. Huge success." "Success," said the ghost, "is in the eye of the beholder. Let's take another look, shall we?" Soon they arrived at Trump Tower, that phallic affront to the New York skyline. They passed by security quite unseen, and after a quick ride of the golden elevator, found themselves on the 26th floor in Ebenezer's office. The walls were plastered with magazine covers which sported a grinning Trump. The shelves were laden with self-awarded trophies, and the cluttered desks showed no sign of any work having been done. There behind the desk, sitting in the executive chair, was Trump, we all know and hate. The absurd, urine yellow sweep of hair, the joyless porcelain squint, the jet-jawed permanent scowl of the third-rate Churchill tribute act. Before him stood a tall, slender figure, less a woman than some cloister's teen idea of one. How high were her cheekbones, how lustrous her hair, how perfectly feminine her bearing, and yet for all that there was something of Trump about her in his narrow slits of her mouth and eyes. It was as though the man had impressed upon her a certain Trumpness, an unmistakable trumpery, a horrific Trumptitude. Yes, there was no doubt about her beauty had been trumped by Trump. "Melania!" exclaimed the modern Trump. "We were newlyweds back then. Amazing chemistry. Did it every night in both positions." "It's funny," said the spirit. "You two really don't have that vibe of a married couple. She seems kind of told to you." "What?" said the aged billionaire. "Melania's crazy for Trump, believe me." His gaze returned to his former self, who was in the process of making a phone call. "Tell Mr. Depp it's his old friend Ebenezer Trump." "What? Of course we're friends. We talked for 10 whole seconds at the GQ Awards. Just let Johnny know I look forward to seeing him tonight at his party. Where do you think?" "What do you mean I'm not on the guest list? Listen, buddy, you get me on that thing or I'll sue you so fast your head will spin." He slammed down the receiver as hard as his little hand could, then turned his hair to face Melania. "Sorry, babe, was just wrapping up a big deal. Huge. They thought they could negotiate with Trump, but in the end, no one can resist me." He started from his chair, his lips puckered, but the Slovene recoiled with a shudder. "You know," said the spirit of Clinton, "I may be not the best marriage counselor, but that doesn't seem great." Arms folded, Melania turned away from her husband. "Ebenezer," she said, "you know the deal. $3,000 handbag for me to kiss you on the mouth." He slumped back in his chair, defeated. "Okay, sure, maybe later." After a beat, Trump thought of his recently concluded business. "Got any plans tonight?" he asked. "'Cause Johnny Depp wants me to come over to his Christmas party. Begged me to, honest. Begged like a dog. You could come with me." "No," replied Melania. "I'm busy this evening. I'm going to take a shower." "What?" called Trump incredulous. "You've already had 5 this morning. It's like every time you speak to me, you need to take a shower." "It's just a coincidence," she said, her cat-like eyes shifting from side to side. "Well then, maybe I could join you sometime." Melania shuddered so hard it might have been registered on the Richter scale. This done, she departed, leaving Trump of yesteryear to his magazines and trophy. "Ugh, not good," said the Trump of the present. "Come on, spirit, why don't you show me a nice Christmas? Something sweet and mushy and all that crap." "Your wish is my command," said Clinton, and the office fell away with a blink of an eye. Trump found himself confronted by as tender a tableau of familiar love as you might ever see. A woman in her late 50s sat at the dinner table and gossiped with her adult daughter, while all around them the horde of grandchildren giggled, cavorted, and yelled. Oh, this was a fine brood, not for the gilded opulence of Trump Tower, but rather the humble, cosy home. How happy they seemed. "I recognize the daughter," said Trump. "I think I ogled at her beauty pageant once." "That's a good guess," responded. "But no, check out the mother." Trump redirected his squint and then yelped in recognition. "My God, it's Belle! Yes, that woman is Belle, as lovely as ever." "Isn't she a bit old for you?" said the spirit in a sly. "Well, yeah, but she looks nice. You know, like herself." Moving closer to the table and away from those caterwauling children, Trump overheard the pair's conversation. "Tell me, dear," said Belle, "are you enjoying your liberal arts degree?" "No, Mom," replied the daughter. "My whole course is full of sissies and snobs. I think I'm going to transfer to business school, learn the art of the deal, and make tonous, screwing losers out of their money." There emanated from Trump a small guttural sound, which might have been a distant relation to a sob. What's the matter? Nothing, Trump sounded, wiping his eyes. I'm just thinking that a kid like that, quite as graceful and as full of promise, might have called me father and had a springtime in the haggard winter of my life. The spirit bowed his head. That's beautiful, he said. Hey, wait, don't you have 5 children of your own? Yeah, 3 of them are write-offs, maybe 4. Just then, the master of the house burst in from the living room, red-faced and clutching his ribs. Belle, cried her husband, rightfully married, you'll never guess who came on television. I don't suppose I shall, she tutted, if you will not deign to tell me. Why, the man continued, 'tis an old friend of yours. How should I know, she said, laughing, as he laughed at the same breath. Mr. Trump? Mr. Trump it is. He appears to be hosting a game show where suit-wearing cretins pretend he's a genius in the hope that one day they might fetch him coffee. And as if it wasn't hilarious enough, his face is made to look like an Oompa Loompa. Belle chuckled and quickly restrained herself. Poor Ebenezer, you shouldn't make fun of him so. I don't see what cause you have to call him poor, said the husband, sitting beside the wife and throwing his arms around. Indeed, he's famously for the opposite. I fear I shall have to reserve my sympathy for those who struggle as we do, rather than spend it on billionaire-cum reality show host. Still, said Belle, I have known him, and thus I understand that, beneath it all, he is the saddest man alive. Her point made, she smiled faintly, then acknowledged that, yes, the fake tan was ridiculous. And as for the hairpiece, Trump turned to shade of Bill Clinton, a tear running down his orange cheek. Spirit, he said in a broken, remove me from this place. I told you these were shadows of things that have been, said the ghost, that they are what they are. Do not blame me. Why did you show me these things, Trump explained. You want me to apologize for who I am? Is that it? Well, is it? Damn it, Bill, answer me. But the ghost had vanished, as had Belle and her family, and Trump was back in his bedroom all alone.